hurt you. Ooh. Never meant to make you cry, but tonight I'm doing my own laundry. Oh, oh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday. It is Friday. We're going to talk about some news. We're going to jump into some stuff and hopefully have a good little half hour together of information, edification, and alliteration because that's what we're doing. But yeah, it is Friday, May 10th, and it is my birthday weekend. Huzzah. Um, I turn ages on Sunday, May 12th, which is also Mother's Day. So tell your mama she owes me some cake. And yeah, let's jump into it because I want to be on time to take my kids to school and do all the other stuff that comes with being a moderately responsible adult. Um, yeah, let's jump in. Here we go. First up, Randy Travis. Um, which isn't a name probably a lot of y'all are still digging on in terms of, music and things of that nature. Randy Travis is a country music legend. He's also from North Carolina, and I know I'm reminded of this every time I drive to Charlotte because I pass through a town where Randy Travis is from, and there's a giant wall memorial of him. That being said, last Friday, May 3rd, uh, right after I put out the last episode, Randy Travis put out his first song in years, um, called Where That Came From. Now, why this is an issue, why this is something newsworthy, other than the fact that, good for you, is the fact that Randy suffered a near fatal stroke in 2013 and does not have the ability to use his voice um, as we're accustomed to. So this is one of those, what are we doing with the future type situations? Randy and his longtime producer uh, released this song with AI usage of Randy's old voice. So Randy cannot currently sing the song he just wrote. So he had his producer process AI, record and use recordings of himself to re-release or to release this new song. It's customized to sound as authentically as possible to what Randy would have sounded like in his prime, but not what Randy can currently do. And that's one of the situations like, you know, there's a difference between if you wanted Green Day to sing the works of Adele, but if Randy Travis wants to use uh, past recordings of his own voice to release new music, where is that at? It's very Black Mirror. It's very an interesting concept. If you've got ideas or thoughts on that, love to hear it and see what you think about that. But yeah, that's news-ish stuff. And this past week was WWE Backlash, one of their premium live events that took place in France. And Jay Uso got a outstanding reaction, things like that. It was overall an event that was moderately well celebrated. But just on a historical thing, um, Cody Rhodes battled AJ Styles, uh, and it became the first. There were two firsts in that match. Um, One, it's the first time Cody fought someone that fought his father, which AJ Styles, a young AJ Styles, forever ago, fought Cody's father, legendary Dustin Rhodes of the wrestling business. And this was the first time a female referee main evented a premium live event. So not only did Cody fight someone that actually fought his father, he was able to celebrate the first female referee to, I don't know if what the word is, to referee a main event match. So that's kind of neat. Um, on a not fun or neat situation, um, the world, and I guess primarily as well, North Carolina and South Carolina has been immersed in the tragic story of Micah Miller, um, who literally just since last week, the story happened right after I signed off here last week. Micah Miller was the wife of a pastor in Myrtle Beach, John Paul Miller of Solid Rock Church, and her body was found at Lumber River State Park, and which is just down the street from me. Um, and we took to the internet with conspiracies, we took the internet with sleuthing, and people had lots to say. And it involves my local law enforcement, it involves my area. People are releasing timelines and video footage, but the even with all the things that have been released, it still doesn't make a ton of sense. But one of the things it does really show is that this woman had a lot of hurt, and there's a lot of negativity surrounding her former husband, and it does not all paint uh, a good picture of him or of ministerial folk at all. And I've learned one thing is if you have an option to listen to a 911 call of someone, uh, don't do it. Like, I listened to her 911 call out of curiosity because, like the rest of the internet in my local area, I wanted to hear it. And then once I heard it, I was like, oh, nope, instantly regret this. And felt just kind of hopeless. That how much more could have been. And my brother Kelly is commenting, has been in the hospital, and he's finally back to his casa, Mojo Dojo Casa house. And Kelly, I'm glad you're out, bro. I'm glad you're doing well. But yeah, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, there's lots of information about Micah Miller's uh thing and about John Paul Miller, and I'm 99% sure this is going to be some like Netflix true crime thing in years to come. But yeah, it's been a lot. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's a therapist last night, and said, just how much the emotional toil of her story has had on her, and let alone all the people that she's been uh dealing with. So yeah, one, don't be a douche. Be kind to people, love people well, and if you're struggling, if you need help, please seek help. And if you feel hopeless, it's probably less hopeless than you think, but it's hard to see that sometimes. So, bye. Um, Yelling at my kid that's going to school. Um, in more geeky, less heartbreaking news, the first full image of Superman has been released. James Gunn and DC Comics and a million other people have released an image of Superman putting on his costume while a giant evil entity is blasting Metropolis behind him. It's got kind of a Batman vibe, but it also has like, hold on, let's do this again, kind of the Mr. Incredible vibe. I just saved the city, now it's messy again. And it's also been made into a very funny meme already of uh replacing the monster that's in the background with whatever trauma you want to put attacking the city. But if you've not seen the image, make sure you check out DC Comics's socials or James Gunn personally, or just look, you'll see it. And realistically, the first time I actually saw the image, I scrolled past it because I thought it was a cosplayer. Um, Not that I don't like cosplayers of Superman, it just didn't think it was real. And then I was like, oh, this is for real. It's got a classic vibe. The first thought I had was like the shoulders don't seem to like fit as snugly as Cavill's, but whatever, we're gonna see how this goes. Um, it definitely looks like Superman, so that's coming. A neat situation too, as well, is Mick Foley officiated a wedding for Alice Cooper's guitarist. And so there was a wedding that took place where Alice Cooper was reading scripture, which he's a believer if y'all don't know that. Where Alice Cooper was reading scripture and Mick Foley did the officiating. Um, I just think that's amazing. And I think it's pretty cool to see. It was yeah, it's just pretty cool to actually see that take place. Um Giancarlo Esposito officially announced that he has joined the MCU, but he is not Professor X. So that's all the information we got. But he has officially joined the MCU, but he is not Professor X. So do that, do that, do with that as you will. Words. On things that we've all waited for, and I feel like this is fan service. Remember when Multiverse of Madness gave us John Krasinski as perfect or Mr. Fantastic just because we'd been beating the internet to death for it for years? We've got that again because now in the upcoming Lego movie Build a Better or Rebuild the Universe, rebuild yeah, there's a Lego movie coming up that's going to be kind of a multiversal thing. We're officially getting an on-screen Darth Jar Jar where Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. There's already images of it, and it's only in Lego form, but it's out there and it's existing. And we are getting a Darth Jar Jar. Also in things that you did not probably want, maybe, unless you're my kids, because they wanted it. It looks like they are planning a Pitch Perfect 4. It's currently being developed, and Rebel Wilson recently put out an update for it. So, listen, if we're going to keep getting Trolls movies, we might as well still keep getting uh, Pitch Perfect movies because they're basically the same thing. Just one has Justin Timberlake and one doesn't. But yeah, um, Disney is officially pulling back on their releases. From this point moving forward, Marvel has a rule in terms of what will be released. Their rule is every year will contain no more than three MCU movies and two MCU shows. Now, I don't feel like they've been really breaking that rule, but also I can't remember the last time I looked forward to three MCU movies in one year. That's been a minute. I've looked forward to the MCU shows more than I have the MCU movies as of late, but that's their new rule of two. Um, if you have been following the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef and battle rapping, y'all, it's been ridiculous. Listening to the songs they put out, listening to the way they've attacked each other, to the chess matches, because I think a week ago it looked like Kendrick Lamar just bodied this whole situation, and then Drake came back and has done some other interesting things in terms of the creativity of it, but it's gotten um way realer than anticipated, I believe, to the point where their labels are calling for sit downs and calling for peace. There was a drive-by shooting at Drake's house where Drake's unarmed bodyguard was shot and is fighting for his life. And then just last night, um, a man tried to break into Drake's house, the same house that his bodyguard was shot at less than a week ago, and probably pop back over that more in there. But like, um, it's effective advertising if nothing else. Yeah. Chronicles of Riddick, which is, one of those franchises that's still chugging along, um, is Vin Diesel confirmed that Chronicles of Riddick Furia, it's the fourth film in the franchise, and it will begin production in August. Now, I remember being in high school and I went on a date, maybe not high school, maybe early college years, whatever. I went on a date to watch the first Riddick movie and thought it was super dope. Um, And they've had their highs and lows past that. But it was a good experience. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do with more of it. I always felt like it was more of a thing, but it's never been like Fast and Furious numbers or anything. Um, Peacock has officially announced that not only is there a pilot for the Office reboot slash sequel series, they've officially already picked it up as a series. We will get a season one. Um, where it goes from there, who knows? But it is official. The Office sequel series is taking place, and it is going to get a full season. Now, here's what I do need to say to y'all, because I get it. If you're watching this um on Faith and Fandom, or you're listening to this on my channel, you're probably a little bit of a nerd or a little bit of a geek, and this is probably not news to you. But my social feed is filled with a bunch of muggles who are believing everything they see. Y'all, please fact check your life stuff. Because there's an image of John Krasinski looking at the camera and saying the Office reboot series is coming. And I'm seeing so many people share this. This is not that. There's an Office sequel series. It is not a Jim Halpert show. Please don't fall for those shenanigans. I don't think the Office could afford to put John Krasinski in that show again right now, nor Steve Carell, or you know, well, probably just not those two. Um, but it is a follow-up series, and it is going to take place focusing on a dying Midwestern newspaper. So it was good enough that they saw a pilot, or a pilot was displayed, and they ordered a season. So it's coming, and we'll have some more details going forward with it. Um, the roast of Tom Brady happened live on Netflix. And if you're a fan of roast comedy or aggressive comedy in that nature, there's probably a lot of stuff you would have enjoyed. Netflix has since then altered the special, and if you didn't watch it live, one big feature that was removed from the live stream of the show was the fact that Kim Kardashian was booed heavily when she took the stage. Um, and then Kevin Hart tried to get the crowd to calm down, as his host was his job. Um, Netflix has removed that. You won't see that anymore unless you look on YouTube or wherever. Um, there was also an altercation with the first comedic presenter, where there was one set of jokes that was disapproved. Like, they were told before the show happened, don't talk about this subject. And then literally the first comedian talked about it, and Tom Brady went up and threatened him like he was going to walk out. So drama, drama, drama. Um, but that was the thing. Andy Serkis, the man who was responsible for Caesar in Planet of the Apes and General Snoke in Star Wars, who is Alfred in uh, The Batman, who, for whatever reason, directed Venom 2, and who plays the Claw in the MCU, but who is still most famous for playing Gollum, is returning to Lord of the Rings with the first new Lord of the Rings movie since The Return of the King. Now, The Rings of Power was a success for Amazon, and I enjoyed watching it. But they are bringing back the first Lord of the Rings film since Return of the King in theaters, and it's going to be called The Hunt for Gollum, and it will be directed and star Andy Serkis as Gollum. So you will get the OG Gollum back for a Lord of the Rings movie, which means there's a good chance you're gonna. And I said the last Lord of the Rings movie since Return of the King. Obviously, the Hobbit movies came after that. Brain fart. I apologize, but it's gonna be the first post. I don't even know when the timeline's gonna be. Never mind. I should shut up. But either way, it's a Hunt for Gollum movie. It's coming. There is also a new animated series on Batman called Batman the Caped Crusader, which is a Batman animated series that takes place in the 40s. And where all the characters are going to be first appearance Batman era, and it's being helmed by Bruce Timm, who was one of the main people who brought us Batman the Animated Series, and it's being treated as a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. It was originally going to Max, but it moved over to Prime or Amazon Prime. There's already imagery out there for the new version of what Harley Quinn would have looked like in the 40s, classic Catwoman and stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, that is going to drop August 1st on Amazon Prime. Um, on the whole subject of streaming networks, Disney Plus and Max and Hulu are all combining. And it's going to happen this summer. So literally, I don't even know if I've canceled my Hulu when it merged with Disney. I don't even know if I'm currently paying for it hit Hulu and Disney, but I definitely know I'm paying for like Max. So hopefully it's going to be cheaper. But those three services are all combining together, which is basically most of what I watch anyway. Either way, it's happening. We're just we took like a 30-year detour to create cable again. That's what's happening. Uh, but yeah. Um, A24, the powerhouse studio that brings us artistic and eclectic entertainment, was making a prequel series called Crystal Lake, which was a prequel series to Friday the 13th. And they've stopped. They're not making it anymore. There was the director and the showrunner basically said never mind and walked out, and it looks like A24 is currently abandoning the project. Uh, I don't know that I needed to see a prequel series to Camp Crystal Lake or to Friday the 13th. I don't even like the original movie just because it's his mom. But Jason's an iconic figure. I don't know that we need more backstory. And I don't think a backstory is going to give us what we would want anyway, but whatever. Uh, the young man, Ian Owsley, who played Sokka in the live action version of Avatar, really wants to play Beast Boy. There's going to be a Teen Titans featured film coming up in the DC cinematic universe, whatever it's called, and he's petitioning kind of heavily to play Beast Boy. And while everybody last year was talking about Oppenheimer and Barbie being like the top films of the year, um, like one of the things that's getting like left out is the fact that Mario Brothers had the biggest box, not the biggest box, it had the most profit of 2023. The Mario Brothers movie made more money. It's Tristan Birch, dude. I forgot to tag you. I'm sorry, homie. But at least I did it super early this morning, so it's not too late in your world. Um, but the Mario Brothers movie was the most profitable movie of 2023. It may not have won the most awards, but if you would have told me, ahead of all this that Mario Brothers would be the most profitable film of the year, it not just the money it made, it profited $559 million profit, past promotion, past advertising, past actors, past but production. It profited. Evening, Tristan. It profited $559 million, which is a huge thing with that. But yeah. If you are a fan of Tatiana, and I can't say the rest of her name, the lady that played She-Hulk, if you knew of her before She-Hulk, then that probably means you watched the mind-bending sci-fi series Orphan Black. Well, Kristen Ritter, who played Jessica Jones, is doing a sequel series to Orphan Black. Now, if you are a sci-fi fan and you have not watched Orphan Black, and you're just a fan of good acting, watch Orphan Black. Tatiana plays like 13 different versions of the same character, all drastically different. And it looks like Kristen Ritter is going to be playing that. The series is called Orphan Black Echoes, and it will premiere on June 23rd on AMC. Now, I will say this, Orphan Black was one of the most intellectual and surprising things I've ever watched. I've only watched it once, and I need to, at some point revisit that. But I love Kristen Ritter, and I would definitely give that a check out. By the way, the Gollum movie will come to theaters in 2026, which seems pretty quick for a turnaround, honestly. Um, since I've been doing this, I've been saying, "Oh, this is the last time we got Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy's voice together." Um, Good morning, Alicia Glenn. Um, I've been saying that because they announced it was for, you know, Crisis on Infinite Earths and different stuff like that. Once again, we're getting the posthumous voice of Kevin Conroy with a voice of Mark Hamill. If you're familiar with the fighting game Multiverses, um, Kevin Conroy had previously recorded voicing for the new version of the game that is going to be dropping soon. And Mark Hamill is again returning as uh the Joker. So if you want to once again have your chance to have your heart broken a little bit every time you hear Batman speak, you're going to have that chance with Multiverses. Um, if you're not aware, Multiverses is a free Warner Brothers centric version of Smash Brothers. So you can have Shaggy punch, Harley Quinn in the face and Courage the Cowardly Dog be around and stuff like that. Um, I think that's yeah, maybe not Courage the Cowardly Dog, but either way, it's Warner Brothers properties. But the new version is going to feature Kevin Conroy's voice as Batman and Mark Hamill with new dialogue as the Joker. Um, Speaking of voices, and a voice you may not recognize the name as well, but Ralph Ineson, who is famous for Game of Thrones and some other things of that nature. He has one of the most iconic voices in terms of speaking. Like everybody always goes to Morgan Freeman for that voice. Well, Ralph Ineson is one of those voices as well. Ralph Ineson has officially been cast as Galactus for the MCU and for the Fantastic Four. Galactus, yeah, so Ralph Ineson's Galactus, and if you need to take a minute to Google who Ralph Ineson is, so you can know who our new Galactus is, go ahead. I'll say this: Ralph Ineson visually does not strike me as like a daunting man that I'm like, ooh, that's Galactus, but his voice does. So when you listen to his voice, you'll be like, okay, that tracks. Um, if you are a music fan, you might be familiar with the concept of NPR's Tiny Desk series, where they ask artists to play stripped down versions of songs at a tiny desk, and it is awarded. And people are celebrating it. It's kind of like American Idol in an awkward setting. Uh, Christian hip hop artist No Big Deal recently won the fan favorite award for the NPR Tiny Desk performance, and I would highly recommend it. And No Big Deal's a pretty great performer, and yeah, he just did that. Um, Not only is Ralph Ineson joining the MCU, though John Malkovich is joining the MCU. John Malkovich was actually heavily favored to play a comic accurate version of the Vulture in the Spider-Man world before we got Michael Keaton. But who knows? We're getting John Malkovich in the MCU somewhere in there. And other really, really weird casting news and just why is this happening situations. There is a horror movie about Jesus coming out called The Carpenter. You heard that. There's a Jesus horror movie called The Carpenter, and Nicolas Cage is playing Joseph, Jesus's father in the film. Do whatever you want with that information. But there's a horror movie called The Carpenter about Jesus, and Nicolas Cage is playing Joseph. God bless you and your families. Um, where Mario Brothers was the most successful thing of the year last year, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has proven to be the least profitable thing, and in fact has cost Warner Brothers $200 million in losses, which probably is one of the leading factors to Warner Brothers partnering with or switching over to Disney Plus and Hulu with that with its Max 1-2 combo. So that's the thing. Um, yeah. In a Uno reverse card situation, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, is now suing the U.S. federal government. Um, and they're suing the federal government over the TikTok ban, and they're taking the government to court for it. So somebody's about to draw two or draw four because it's going to heat up a little bit. So if you weren't aware, we basically had 9 months for TikTok to sell itself to a different company so that America could, police it. And now TikTok is suing the federal government. Oh, also to add to this, to the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, Shawn Michaels, former, WWE superstar, the Heartbreak Kid, um, has officially put out an invitation for Kendrick and Drake to finish their beef in the ring at WWE NXT. Um, Yep, that's the thing. That's the thing. Uh, there is a new documentary by Chris Worthington, who's a filmmaker, that's about to be dropped called Multiplied about the growth of Christianity and heading into a modern day Jesus revolution. So if you're interested in that, Multiplied is the latest documentary he did this on. And Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber are officially pregnant and announced that. Just making sure I hit the last little things. Um, there is a man named Bernard Jr. Polite in Pennsylvania who is being charged for homicide after attempting to shoot a pastor during a sermon. He was told that he says that God told him to shoot this pastor, and he got up and he tried to shoot this pastor during a sermon and was promptly tackled by the rest of the congregation. The pastor ducked, and uh, Bernard, just and polite, was taken into custody. But where it heats up is Ber- Bernard's had a cousin who was fatally shot um, prior to this shooting, and so he's going to be charged with murder for that. Um, and Drake had somebody trying to break into his house just yesterday. Will Smith, guards had to take down a guy who just tried to break into his house, who just broke into his house this week as well. So stop breaking into people's houses. I don't care if they're celebrities or not. Cut it out. Um, and in real life, what are you doing situations? Um, Somebody tried to sneak a bag of snakes onto a plane and literally live out snakes on a plane. Now, they were tiny snakes, like a foot long in a bag, but they literally tried to hide some baby snakes in a bag and sneak them into their pocket. They like literally went through TSA with snakes in their pants. So, way to go, guys. It didn't happen. They got stopped. Um, Back to Lord of the Rings news. Bernard Hill, who is a Lord of the Rings staple, uh, passed away this past week, and you know, that's yes, Alicia, we need Samuel L. Jackson. We need Samuel L. Jackson at the airport. We need Samuel L. Jackson at Drake's house. We just need Samuel L. Jackson to start yelling at people for making bad life choices. Um, but yeah. So that's the end of my news for today. I would love to stay and talk a little bit more about life and scripture and things like that, but I got to go adult and parent. Um, but I will tell you, I've had two events for May coming up. May 18th, I will be at Randolph County Public Library Comic Con, which will be in Asheboro, North Carolina. It's a short one, like 9 to 12. And then I will be at the Nerd Market in Fayetteville on from 6 to 9 on the 24th. And then I'm having a yard sale on the 25th. Lots of new stuff coming. Oh, I officially have the God is a fan of you sticker. Um, Psalms 139:14. And shirts are being made as well. And I want to say a moment to thank our Patreon supporters, and I'm a bounce. Um, so do. Oh, and the North Dakota thing is happening, and we're going to be talking about that more real soon. David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, uh, Jason, what baby do Jacob Gibson, um, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Candace Davis, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perner, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for being amazing, cool supporters and just being encouraging. And you help make all of this possible. And for everybody that prays, encourages, and supports, thank you so much for being who you are. Um, and I will see you soon, if not next week, maybe sooner. God bless you and your families. And I will hope you have a great day.